This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers.
Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to this very special edition of the Long Run Show in conjunction with the 40 Runs running community and our very good sponsors down there at Skechers, which if you haven't checked out their clothing and their footwear, head over to skechers.co.uk and have a browse because their stuff really is good. Anyway, how are we? For those of you that don't know me, I'm Hayden and I'm a co-host of the Long Run Show with Chris and all the other awesome guys. We go out live on a Friday night at 7 o'clock. Now, it might seem a bit strange and a bit quiet with me here at the controls opening the show tonight, but there's a very good reason for this. Tonight, we go rogue. As the main man himself is sitting opposite me in the opposite side of the podcast arena, as his special episode is going to be an insight into the world of Mr. Ford himself and the brand that is 40 Runs. We will be finding out how, where, or hopefully, and why this whole concept has evolved and where it's come from and where it's heading and its planned future. Hopefully it'll be an insight into how the whole operation not only started, but how it operates on a daily basis. With also the insight into Chris himself as he faces challenges as a runner, content creator, podcast host, YouTuber, husband, father. And we might even touch on the fact of why he still thinks deep down he really is a cowboy. Anyway, he's burst into talk, I can tell, seeing me here taking control. So let's welcome the main man himself, Fordy. How are we, mate?
I'm a bit nervous. I've got to be honest with you. I'm genuinely nervous. I wasn't. So, just to give this some context as well, this was the guys put this, Hayden and admin put this idea down and said, "We've had a brilliant idea." Funny enough, someone else says that. I've had a brilliant idea, and I went, "No, nobody's going to be interested in any shape or form about listening to me and being." I think I used the word self-indulgent, didn't I? I think there was, there were the words, because that's not really what we're about here. And it's like I always say to Hayden, it's not about me; it's about everybody else that's part of 40 Runs and the community and the club, and and it's just not about me. I'm just some dude who likes running. So when they said this to me, I was like, nah, no, it's going to be interesting. This, but then I kind of get it. I kind of when we spoke about it a little bit more, it kind of made sense. So if you're new to 40 Runs, or you're thinking, who is this guy who just keeps rocking up to these races and is a loud mouth and makes a lot of noise, and then I see the runners all over down the country with 40 Runs plastered all over them. What is this thing? So that's why we thought, actually, this is probably a good idea to sort of dispel some of those rumors as well and some of that stuff as well. Just to, and just hopefully, as you're trotting along on your run, or you're watching this back on YouTube, give you a bit of an insight into what goes on. So over to you, big boy.
Yeah, so as you said about it being self-indulgent, no intentions of this being self-indulgent. We want the good points and we want the bad points. We want to hear all about you and know what it is that's got you to where you are right now. So if you're ready, I suppose we need to start right at the beginning. So
we need to turn the lights down.
Shouldn't we? Yeah, it's a bit like that, isn't it? A bit like This Is Your Life. We're going to start getting people coming in through the doors behind
me. Is Nick going to walk in?
Going to get all your old teachers, all your old girlfriends coming out.
I think probably some have been locked up. I can't talk about it.
So let's start at the beginning. Then take us briefly back to a very young Christopher. Can tell us all about you. What were you like? Did you run at school, play other sports? And what sort of vision did you have growing up? Was it the standard sort of vet, doctor, or did you have any other ideas?
So yes, I did run at school. It was hurdles for me, was where I was at. Yeah, 400-meter hurdles. I'm a hero. I did like 200-meter hurdles, but I just kept finding I was getting beaten over them. So I went to 400 meters because I had a better chance. And I ran for the school again. 400 meters, I think was where I was at. I think it was 400 meters. But it was more. I played a lot of football. I played. I think like most boys, wrong or right, I played a lot of football. And then I got quite badly injured actually playing football. I tore all a load of muscles and things like that, and it caused me some knee problems and stuff like that. So that sort of took a back step. And then I kind of found out other activities, girls, um, and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed, which takes me back, funny enough, because I just did it. Was I really enjoyed going fishing with my mates? So we used to hang out and do stuff like that. I wasn't very good at school. I did okay, but again, I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD then. So, looking back, you realise that that massively impacted what was going on at school. But I really struggle in terms of attention. I struggle to study because I just get bored and I want to move on to start something else. And then I'll start something and then think this is the best idea I've ever had. And I'll throw myself into that and then I'll move on to something else and I won't finish that, which is classic ADHD. But again, back then people weren't looking around for that and hunting that out. So yeah, and then went to school, fell out of school, didn't really do anything but mucked about a bit, and then ended up working in London from a young age. Like 18, I was working in London. So yeah, and I bought my first house when I was 18, believe it or not. So yeah, I did. Yeah, so I was very lucky. I fell into a job again, blagged my way in, and actually, I did. I went for a job interview, and the geezer said to me, "Oh, you here for the stockbroking job?" I went, "Oh yeah." I wasn't. I thought I was doing some like accounting. Right, I went, "Oh yeah, I'm here for that." Blagged my way into that, and that was that really. So that's how that's how I got into
Nothing,
that game.
nothing's
That's
really,
mental.
nothing's really changed, does it?
Nothing's changed. This is my mouth is doing overtime before my brain. But again, that's classic ADHD, and you just go full in, don't even think about nothing, worry about consequences later. So yeah, that was that really. So yeah, running took a back seat. Really didn't do anything. Really didn't do much exercise. I was just working a lot. I mean, I worked a lot, too much. Um, and yeah, and as you look back, as I said, struggles with certain things, anger issues, and all that sort of stuff, and you realise that you can put that down to stuff now. Um, and yeah, so that evolved, and then the kids came along, and I realised that I was fat and overweight, and I needed to do something about it. And
Let's rewind before the kids then. So I'm pretty sure
mm,
you had a bit of travelling involved. You quite extensively travelled, haven't you?
yeah, I've travelled. I'm really lucky because of the position I was in working. Yeah, I had a few quid. So I literally travelled pretty much the world, and I was really lucky because I did most of it first class. But I don't think there's many corners of the world that I've not been to. It might surprise some people, but I'm quite well travelled actually.
You gone
Um,
favourite place?
uh,
Your favourite place you went to?
Arizona.
I knew you was going to say that. It had to be somewhere sort of like either deep south in the States or in these deserts.
I
Because
know,
that's
or New Mexico. I've got a big fondness of New Mexico. New Mexico, Arizona, that sort of way is if you said to me, Chris, is £1,000,000, take the kids, go wherever you want. I'd uproot us. Nick could have a breakdown, but I would take us all to New Mexico probably not Arizona, probably New Mexico. So it's a bit quieter.
and these
Um,
were these travelling round, or was this like you stay in one place?
no, so I would. I mean, that's if I was. I make you laugh, but if I was going to a ranch or whatever like that, I mean, I joke about being a cowboy. She laughs already, but I was really heavily into that. So um, I'd go a couple of times a year out to Arizona. But if I was doing that, but if otherwise, I'd go. I don't know, over to Japan, New Zealand for a couple of weeks, Australia for a couple of weeks. I mean, I think I've been in Australia about 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Done like travel around there. Asia, although I'm not really that fussed about Asia. Food's a bit mucky.
So
And then
how on earth are you scared of flying or getting
well, this
anxiety
is
with
this is the
flying?
thing. Yeah, but it's very different, right? Like I remember when I flew to Shanghai, it was like 13 hours. But when you're sitting in 1A in first class, it's very easy. I didn't even know the plane had taken off. I was just, it's very easy. This is again, I lived a blessed life back then. I was able to afford anything I wanted to do. Oh, hang on. Am I still there, Hayden?
You're still here, yeah.
Yeah, it's just my screen's just froze. We'll edit it out, don't worry about it. But yeah, so I lived I lived a blessed life back then. I could do anything I liked.
So
Where
let's go
now,
back to after the travelling. As we're talking about now, we're talking about Mrs. Ford, the long-suffering Mrs.
oh,
Ford. We hear the clips about her. We hear you talking about her. Let's hear about Mrs. Ford. How did you meet Mrs. Ford? How
well,
the
there's a
level was
story
that?
about that, as you'd expect. So I
Obviously,
was out
you
being
flagged it. It's got to
no,
be.
I was in Arizona, shock, and I was out there for I'd been out there about 3 months. I was, just being boys. And I was at the ranch and I was, doing a bit of this, bit of that. I was in Vegas. stuff we can't even talk about on here because you probably end up in jail. But I was out there and I was living the life. I think I was actually on gardening leave, so I was on like 6 months gardening leave between jobs. And so I was out there, and then my dad called me up and said, "Chris, you've got to come home." I was like, "What?" I'm, up to no good. I had a bright blue Mustang, same colour as your top. And yeah. And so I was out there and he said, "No, you got to come back because it's your," and we got some family. It's the so-and-so's 30th birthday, and your brother needs a wingman at this party. And I was like, I suppose I probably better come back. I've been out here 3 months and my phone bill was like 3.5 grand. So I came back to this 30th birthday party, rocked up, bit of assault there. And then that was it, wasn't it? And then that next minute, we got baby on the way, married, and it was just meant to be. So yeah, I met her at that do, and that was it. So that I came back for that, and that's how I met Nick, and then that's how it all started.
Once again, just fell into it. So if we're talking running then now, so pre-40 runs, pre-Ford, all your ideas with running. Why did you start running? What is the whole story of you running? How did you start running?
Weight loss, purely weightless. But I did find that it was helping with my mental health. But again, back then, like mental health wasn't a topic, unfortunately, that was spoken about. But I always found a release through running. So, like I said to you, with what was now, diagnosed as ADHD and some of the other stuff that I struggle with, with the anger and things like that, and just uncontrollable in that some respects. I'm not like some weirdo, but genuinely, with anxiety and things like that. So I just found a calmness when I was able to run. And wanting to lose weight because I think I was 15 stone, 15 and a half stone. I mean, you've seen some of the pictures. I wet myself the other day. Nick showed us a picture of when Daisy was about to pop out, and I was like, I looked like eating myself. So it was, but it was that sort of, again, because the way I am, I can't, if I'm eating, I eat a lot. I can't handle not like, I'll have a 6 multi-pack of crisps. I'll eat the whole thing. I just can't stop myself. That's the way I am. So that's how I started running. My brother-in-law helped me. He'd done London. He inspired me. I got out with him, signed up for a few 10Ks, things like that. Usual story, usual route that I think most people have taken. And that's how basically then I got into it. And then I was like, Paul done London. I'm going to try and do London. And that really was what set me on the path.
So this was the bit I was coming to next. So this bit here, this is the old publicised. This is the famous thing that really kickstarted everything. And obviously, some people will know about this story and some won't. So yeah, by all means, this is how it all started. Tell us what happened that day when you was on that start line.
Yeah, I think so. I'd done the YouTube channel, and YouTube back then was people vlogging like Casey Neistat and all this sort of stuff. I didn't know who they were back then, but it was very, very sporadic. There was a lot of rubbish on there, and I thought, well, I might as well head to that rubbish. And I started just documenting my marathon training for this London marathon I got myself into, and I did it as a sort of, some people keep diaries of their training. It was that sort of that aspect, but also with that creative side thing. And again, with the issues that I've spoken about now, I thought it was a brilliant idea, so I went full kilt into it. Yeah. Not thinking it through and the consequences that would come from it. So that was that. So I was doing that, and then I turned up to London, and like I said, quite openly, and I talk about it. I was struggling with anxiety, and it was a big race, a lot of people, and I turned up there, and I was like on my own, and I was looking around, and I was thinking, everyone else is on their own. What I simply don't understand it. Yeah, you've got there's certain people who stick together. Don't need to get into that, but in general, I would say 90% of the people all just sitting about, probably thinking exactly like me, and probably struggling with the same struggles that I had, and then going into the start line with the same probably hang-ups that I had. And I probably look back and I wasted so much energy through my anxiety that day that I just thought to myself, why is everyone separate? Why aren't we all talking, and why aren't we coming together and sharing this together? So, and again, I'm not particularly a social animal. In fact, probably the worst place you could put me is into a pub full of people. I really generally struggle with that. But at the same time, I was thinking, if I had someone to talk to, then I might be able to sort of calm myself down, if that makes any sense. So that's why I started pretty much the Facebook group. Yeah, and that was it really.
Wow. Well, yeah, as you said, it's a story that we've documented. We talk about quite a lot, but it's, as you say, it's powerful and it's real life, and that is how it all started. That's why a lot of us are here today. It's a great story. So, what are we talking about next? What comes next? Coaching.
Yeah, probably coaching.
What made you feel like you needed to be a coach? And let us know all about exactly what qualifications you have, because people just see you as someone who's just giving out advice on this long run show on a Friday night stuff, but you actually have got a few qualifications. You actually know what you're talking about, don't you?
Yeah, so the coaching came about because I was reluctant to be giving out advice when, um, without any sort of, I don't know, fundamentals or anything, or really understanding, excuse me, really understanding it, right? And I just thought, if I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say stuff, stupid stuff, probably on YouTube, right? I think I need to have, yeah, some basis behind this, something to back that up. So I then took upon myself to get some qualifications. So I'd done the run leadership course, run leader in running fitness, I think it's called back then. So that was a starting point for me. And then I went through the coaching running fitness because I thought, you know what, actually I want to increase my learning. And then so I did that. I then wanted to, because we then started looking after kids as well, because for me it's really important in terms of the whole
Yeah.
range of people. And I thought, these kids go to athletics groups and they get shouted at and told that they're too slow and all this sort of stuff, which you're not allowed to safeguarding, but it happens. And it's a very intimidating place to go, right? So I thought, no, I'm going to get qualified here. And you need to be an athletics coach to be able to teach kids under 12. So I did the athletics coaching system. I did that. And then I did the athletics coach. So we're learning running, jumping and throwing on top of, all the other stuff. I then specialized within that in endurance. So that's, long distance running, because you can do speed and things like that. So then I became, specialized, I would say, in endurance coach for long distance. So that's where the knowledge base comes through. Obviously, a lot of it's experience and things like that, and you learn a hell of a lot of other people. But yeah, so that's how it all. But it was more to also offer coaching to people in real simple terms and not overcomplicate things, and give people the support that they need as everyday runners to go out and achieve their goals. Because I understand what it's like to be, somebody who's not at the front of the pack, somebody who's maybe wanting to lose a bit of weight, who doesn't probably do any gym work and things like that along the way, and trying to fit running in to life as well. Because that's the other thing. Some of these coaches, you've got to do this, this, and this. And it's quite hardcore. But I come from a point of view as I know what it's like, in terms of your training, that life's life. Yeah. So that's another way that I coach, which is completely different to anything that England athletics do. And we do, it's great because we do stand out when we go on these coaching qualifications. We send our run leaders, they all know which ones have come for 40 runs, because we look at it a bit differently. We don't go to a track and do, teach at a track, which is nothing wrong with that, but we don't do that. We coach in a completely different way. And I think it's the modern way of coaching. It's not stuck in its ways, and it's applicable to all our runners. So if we do a coach session, if I'm coaching somebody, I make sure that session is applicable to somebody who's run walking, to somebody who's running a 2.5-hour marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the key. And that's, again, goes back to the ethos of the club and the community and everything that 40 Runs stands for, that it's all inclusive for everybody, for everyday runners.
So at the moment then, so you coach people, you provide plan to people, you've got your own sort of clients and stuff, and people come to you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is big-headed, but I've actually got too many. I'm turning people away. It's lovely. But I've coached somebody with muscle disorder, first person ever to complete the London Marathon with that muscle disorder. I've taken people from their first marathon of, I think he ran 3:52 to a 3:33 on their second marathon, and I've got people around under 4 hours. I've also got people in 7 hours. I've got people to run a sub 2 half marathon for the first time. So I've coached many people, and I write a lot of plans for people, a lot of plans. But I don't really publicize it that much, to be honest with you. I probably should. Probably make a fortune.
No, but as you said, there's a lot of elements to all of it. So we go back to now, so we're talking about you've got your coaching now, you're doing a bit of running. So you've started the YouTube. And what are you actually doing on YouTube at the moment? We're talking now, just started the 40 Runs running community. It's about 2018-ish. What are you actually publishing on YouTube? What are you doing?
Rubbish. No, I started doing some. I mean, like anything, started doing a few tips videos, trying to find something a niche that worked for me. And really back then, it was just putting stuff out that I thought might be useful for like normal runners, really, like everyday runners. I keep going back to the point is that's what it was about. And obviously, yes, I was vlogging or filming races, which nobody was doing back then. So I would turn up to races with a GoPro and irritate the hell out of most of these elite people. Oh, he's got a GoPro sticking in my face. But I was doing all that because nobody was doing it, and I was filming races and things like that, and just showing how to have a good time. You don't need to do run really fast or anything like that. You could just have just as good a time and show off some of the races because there's some really cool stuff. There's some really cool local events that I was going to. And I wanted to just put that out there. And then you started reviewing stuff because people, very similar actually to what Thomas from Believe in the Run, you was on that show, I think, Hayden, when he mentioned the fact that people are asking the sort of stuff that I was wearing, sort of shoes that I was wearing. So I started putting a little bit of that in there in terms of the reviews. And that's how that review side of the channel started. So we had the weekly vlog, which still remains to this day, of basically what my training is and what I'm training for. And then what's ended up being, a tips video once a week. And then the reviews have obviously taken over. But that's purely because I found a niche and I found, I think, a point in which we had some value. Not all of it, some of it's took, but we had some value within what we put out. And again, it's all guided towards the everyday runner. So it's honest content. I'm going to tell you, if something's absolute rubbish and it's overpriced, I'm going to say that, much to my detriment. I get in a lot of trouble from a lot of people, and I don't get. I mean, I joke about it, but I don't get a lot of stuff anymore from a lot of brands because they shy away from it because they know, I think now, that unfortunately I'm going to say what I like. Which, am I going to be held back in life because that? Probably, but I think viewers, maybe someone who's listening to this or watching this, would appreciate that more than me sitting there just because a certain company that I want to work with. And I just ain't like that. From the way I was brought up, you say it how it is. And again, I usually talk think before I speak. No, I don't think before I speak. I just come out with it, and none of the videos are scripted. I'll say anything I like, and if something is terrible, it's terrible. And then I'll get, on the flip side of that, I'll get very excited about stuff as well.
This is where we get the chalk and cheese situation. So on one hand, you're telling me here you're going to races and you're extremely anxious. You get the anxiety problems and issues. Then the next minute you're filming something at a race and you're running around, bowling around with a camera under everyone's face. You've got that confidence side of it. Is that down to running, or where does that come from, that confidence?
It's having the camera in hand is like a comfort blanket. Think about it. You give your child that comfort blanket when they're young. I think it's a similar sort of thing. And that's where we go back, and you and I have discussed about running a race without it. And how would I cope? How would I get on? Would I blow the doors off on times? Who knows? But having that camera there is almost like a comfort blanket for me, I think. And that's where that persona comes out, which is my natural personality, to be a loudmouth idiot who likes to have a bit of a laugh. Yeah, I am that louder guy in the conversation. My kids nearly died of embarrassment yesterday. I'm standing up there at the safety briefing for Jump City. I'm trying to do it. That's me. But deep down, that's probably a lot of that is to do with trying to deflect from the anxieties and what's going on within, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely understand. So we're at a point now where you've got this YouTube channel, you've got the 40 Runs running community, the Facebook page is just taking off. You've got your Instagram and stuff. It's all established, got all these different elements and structure. So just because a lot of people out here listening and they just think 40 Runs, yeah, well, you're on a podcast, you're doing your Instagram, it's all 40 Runs. But obviously we spoke about it before, we know these elements are all separate, aren't they? They're different issues that all together come under an umbrella of the title 40 Runs, but individually they're all separate. Give us a bit of insight about how that all works.
Yeah, so I think it's a fair way to do it. I think you've got standalone, which is the club. So the club is an affiliated England Athletics affiliated club. I set that up as non-profit. That I deliberately took myself out of that. So I'm on the committee, but I'm there purely as a coaching because I'm the most qualified coach at the moment within the club. If that changes, then I'll step aside from that. I've got no problem with that at all. But I don't deal with the finances. I don't deal with anything. Membership, I don't have anything to do with it. They deliberately keep me out of it because when I stick my oar in, I usually muck it up, right? So I'm kept out of that at best. Even at like the AGM, I'm like the last person to talk. So I have nothing to do with the club, only other than I promote it because I believe in what it stands for, which is, access to affiliation for everyday runners and the ability to be part of that. And it's inclusive for everybody. You don't have to run a certain time or to attend a session, right? So that's the club. You've then got, what's the best way to describe it? What, like the media bit?
Commercial?
Yeah,
Commercial?
commercial side of things. So actually, that's a probably good way of doing it. You've probably got the non-commercial side, which is so you've got the club and the community, which kind of entwine with each other. But the club came out of the community, and the community is extremely important. But the club came out of that, so it gives the people who live in the community the opportunity to be part of a club. Does that make any sense? And they're sort of, they're the non-profit element of like the non-commercial. Sorry, better way to describe it. Non-commercial. That's all about the people. Yeah, and again, the community side of things, all the administrators and you guys, you basically run that. I mean, like, good example, I switched my phone off this weekend. Did you miss me? No, because it didn't make any, it runs itself, which is so powerful. Like I always say, it's 40 runs is not about me. It's about the people and the journeys that are going on within that. It's the same with the club. And then you get, as you say, you've got, like, let's say the commercial side, which is the YouTube channel, the podcast, the Instagram too. So let's call that social media and that element of it. So the work I do with some of the brands and the races and that kind of thing, which is a byproduct of what started off back in 2000 and whenever it was. And that's obviously growing. The YouTube channel's growing. The podcast obviously won the award and's gone bananas, and that's fantastic. We work with Skechers, who sponsor the podcast. Thanks very much, Skechers.co.uk. See what I did there.
Good plug.
But we've also found some other partners through that who work with us. We get support, for reviews that we do. We work with Start Fitness on the retail side. But again, there's a code we give out for Start Fitness. That 10% code. It's not an affiliate link. So in the US, the guys get Running Warehouse. They put a link in the description and they earn off of that. They earn okay money off of that. I don't do that. I don't get a penny from that Start Fitness code. So that's a discount for everybody else, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do that. So, don't get me wrong, that partnership will develop, and we're going to do cool things, hopefully, with those guys, and who knows where that goes. So that's the sort of commercial side of things, but they're two sort of separate entities in a way, and I don't really. I let you guys deal with the club and the community because I need that. I need that to be without my influence, because I will cock it up. in not too broader terms, I will muck that bit up because I will, I'll have a brilliant idea, and then all of a sudden I'll come in, and that's the worst thing that can happen because it needs to organically grow and find its way, which it's doing. It's amazing what you see, just what you did at the weekend. With the park runs and things, those people all over down the country, and the club growing like bananas. Getting the marathon, 4 marathon places, and that's the thing. People go, oh, he's taken a marathon place, or he's given his mates marathon places, which is complete lies, because it's all done above board. This is the thing. It's so the committee deals with it. I don't have anything to do with the committee other than the fact I'm the head coach, and I think they deliberately try and keep me out of it. But so all that kind of stuff, when you see, oh, he's not wearing his 40 runs race top because he got that place through, that's his club place. I've never taken a club place. I mean, I could. We've got 4 places. I could take a club place quite easily. Probably other people at clubs do, but I don't. I always give that back to the membership, which I think is the fair thing to do. Which is why I set the club up in the first place. I mean, we get a hard time from. I get personally a hard time from a lot of people, which is a bit of a shame. People who've like either met through the community or the club and that lot, and they come at you because they don't agree with it, or they got a misconception about you, and they've never spoken to you face to face, and they'll go after you on social media, or they'll go after you on a Facebook post or a Facebook group, and it's quite hurtful. But life's too short to worry about it. But I think if you understand what's actually going on and talk about it, then some of those misconceptions are will hopefully be put to bed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, that was actually going to lead quite nicely. My next question was literally, how do you deal with these bad comments, the bad thing? It's like you put up a YouTube video, maybe you get, let's say, 10,000 views, and maybe, let's say, 300 comments. 298 of them are going to be
I'll keep
real
up with
nice,
them, to be
love
honest.
that. And you're always going to get that one person. How
You
do you
do.
deal with that's hurtful? But it gets to you. That one person gets to you. How do you deal with that?
I struggle. I genuinely struggle with. I genuinely struggle with a lot of stuff about it. And again, it's my own fault for putting myself out there, right?
Mm.
But it's like when all the Facebook, stuff in the Facebook group, it all kicks off, and it's so wrong, and I don't get a chance to say what I want to say because it's people making stuff up about stuff that I've supposedly said or done, and I'm not. This is just in general, right? So I'm generalising, yeah. And it's the same on the YouTube channel. But really, you never get the opportunity to set the record straight or to say how it is because I sit there in fear of upsetting somebody back or making that, and I wouldn't want them to feel like I'm feeling. So I do take a lot of it to heart. I think because I talked to you about it. I talked to some of the other close people around me about that sort of stuff, and it can be quite hurtful. But in this other respects, I think to myself, one, life's too bloody short, and two, you know. Haven't you got anything better to do kind of thing? It kind of sticks with me for a little while. Sometimes, I don't get me wrong, because I will take constructive criticism like on board 100%, right? 100%. If I've been an idiot or if I've said something that's inappropriate or if I've gone over the top or something like that, which I've got a tendency to do because of, as I said to you, I will speak before I think and I won't think of the consequences because of, because of my ADHD. I will do that, right? Or I'll go off on a tangent. I won't realise the implications that makes and I'll put my hands up if I've generally made an error. But when people go at you, I find the stuff sometimes on YouTube quite amusing about the hobby jogger and this and that, and that just fuels the growth of the channel if you think about it, because people are standing there slagging me off because I'm too slow or I shouldn't be this and I shouldn't be that and I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't. Actually, other people are going to read that and go, you know what, Chris is right because he's the one who's standing up for us as normal runners who are going through the same things. And it's tough, but listen, there's a lot of people in a lot worse situation around the world than me having to deal with a couple of, people on Facebook who don't like me because I say the way I am, and that's fine. And I get that. Not everyone's going to like me. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I wouldn't like me on some days. I really am an annoying, obnoxious person. But I think we've all got that tendency, and sometimes you just got to either scroll on by or not get involved in it and just live your own life. You probably got your own hang-ups and just deal with that yourself and get some help, because, we all need a little bit of help.
So let's go on to, so we're talking about all this social media, the coaching you do, we talk about else. It's quite easy to forget when we're talking about all this, that actually you're a runner as well, and you run a hell of a lot of races. So it obviously comes to the obvious question is, what, and also I need to put this out there as well, because I think a lot of people don't know this about you. You have a full-time job that you travel a long way to. So with all these elements, the simple question is, how and when on earth do you have the time to actually train, especially for the amount of races you do? And how does that work?
Yeah, so I work 40 hours a week, right? I work 40 hours a week. I try and run in the day. I then run obviously in the evenings. I'm coaching. And then obviously I do all the other stuff that we've spoken about. I'll be honest with you, it's a lot. It's too much. But I'm in that position where I can't afford, because basically I got made redundant, right? And I got made redundant on no payout. Okay, so what that means is that you're living a certain lifestyle, and all of a sudden, that cash machine stops, right? And I generally, it's not to put a thing on it, but I genuinely nearly lost everything. Okay, mum and dad basically bailed it out, had help on the mortgage and all that sort of stuff. We was in a right situation. Again, people don't realise that. Kids don't care. Have a go at you. But yeah, genuinely was in a right. I was driving a Tesco van, just to try and keep the roof over our head, and doing other stuff to try and keep this roof going over our heads. That's the cold hard truth of it. And then I was obviously then doing all the other stuff and running as well. So in terms of the running, that I find time, because if I'm not running, I struggle really badly. So I make time to run, even if it's for 30 minutes. So yeah, I try and run 6 times a week if I can. Or 6 days a week, sorry, but I will run on some days twice a day. So usually on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, I'll double run. That seems to work for me. I can sort of handle that, but I kind of then neglect the strength and conditioning side of things. But probably not best not to talk about that.
Yeah, as you said, it's just full on. Everything's full on. It's
It's too
just
much.
it's hard to fit. Yeah, it is. And sometimes you do question the reasons why. So, with regards to your running, then future plans, targets, and goals, just your running base, nothing else to do with your social media. You as a runner, if you gave it all up tomorrow, just running, what would be your target and your goals for running
Boston.
to qualify for Boston?
You inspired me. And that's not blowing smoke up your bum because you're sitting there, but it's to run Boston. It's because to see the journey that you went on. Also, it's inspired by Mike, obviously Kafuzi, to see his times come down. But I think if I actually knuckled down and did some like proper training, not just going out talking about the camera, and did some actually hard graft to see where I could get to see if I could, get through a BQ. No, you know what? I wouldn't even be that bothered about running the race.
Just qualifying.
Do you know what I mean? It's to see if I could actually get that qualifying time.
Yeah, I think you showed everyone your improvement from just Amsterdam to London. I know Amsterdam wasn't your A race goal, but the improvement and the comfortableness you've done London, and I think that showed that you've definitely, it's there for you if you want it. It's just as you said before, it's dedicate how much time you can dedicate to that journey as opposed to sacrificing something else on another journey.
And it's also getting out of my own way. I just find that I get in. Even at London with 2K to go, I'm going, oh, slow down here, slow down. You've got to take it. 2K to go. What are we going on about?
It's that confidence thing, isn't it?
It comes back to 100%. That's exactly what it is, bro.
And before we wrap up everything else, I'd like to talk a little bit about, because obviously we're here today, the podcast. So, pandemic's done, Facebook group's growing, you've got your Instagram, your YouTube's going well, running's going well, everything's great. And now you decide the next stage is a podcast. So, how did that come about and what happened with that?
Well, that was Alan's idea, and full credit to him. And I've always given, put that out there about credit to Al. We was on a run. I don't know where we was. He was out running, and he was going on about, because he always listened to podcasts, and he was going on about that. And I said to him, "Yeah, let's do it." And then this Clubhouse thing came out, and then that was like the next hot thing. So we, like always, went mad on it. And then. Yeah, so I then hang on, let me turn that off. Yeah, so then I then sort of thought, you know what, let's give this a go, sort of thing. And then that didn't really go anywhere. And then the idea of a weekly show, again from an everyday runner's perspective, let's just hang out and talk about running, but in a what we're going through, what we're what you're thinking about, what I'm training for this, I'm training for that. And if we can impart some of our, Al's a coach as well, and I'm a coach, and you've got you, run leader, and, if we've got these sort of people, Tobe's a coach, Sabrina, that sort of, we want to muck about. We've got the banter of our friendships, but at the same time to help and support some people out there who may be listening to Marathon Talk and going, what, world majors, what are you going about? Or, I don't know, running channel, and they do their thing, but I'm not sure either of them are qualified coaches. I ain't got, and that's not me digging them out. I'm just not saying I haven't, but we've got a panel of qualified coaches there that can give out advice to people and go through it. So there are good podcasts out there, like the Running Channel's one, and like some of the others out there. But we wanted to come at it like always with 40 Runs, at a totally different, kilter, and just come at it with some humor, some not taking it very seriously. Obviously, we've got a lot of in jokes, and just, but more importantly than anything, is just make everyone feel included in what we're going through and what we're talking about. Because I think it's everything we discuss is relatable for everybody. There's nothing that we discuss that I don't think that is relatable for everyday runners. And that's how it started. And obviously then it's just gone berserk. And then we do the one Monday show because people are asking too many shoe talk questions on a Friday. So we then do the Monday show. And that's how that's taken off. So, which is cool. I just basically hang out with everybody on a Monday at 8:00, which is great. I love it.
The appetite for it is just massive. Well, obviously, when I'm on the show there and I see what viewers don't see and listeners won't see is on the right-hand side of our screen, we've got comments and people interacting. And a lot of the people we don't get around to because it is just absolutely just mental. The amount of comments are coming. It's really difficult. But that just shows that it was the right move. It was the right thing to do. And it's the right format.
Lucky. Yeah,
we want to ask about that then. How good? Well, obviously I could answer it as well, but I'm going to put it on to you. How good was the running show with the live podcast?
Oh, that was unbelievable. I think that was that was just another. I don't know. That was just like on another level. Like whatever it was, 300 people like watching us live, and I just when you look back on it, it just blows your mind really. That happened. And you know what though? I'd love to do it again. But I'd love to do it bigger. I'd love to do, like you see with these people, right, where they do these like shows, like live shows. I'd love to do it. I think there's generally a market for it. But like anything, we don't have no budget. We're not a media company, so it's just us people doing it. Yeah, we're trying to expand 40 runs on the commercial side to try and bring some money in. So maybe that does take off, but that takes time. And again, if I kept my mouth shut, I'd probably be able to get a few more brands on board. But it's very difficult to do that sort of stuff. And it's different to over in the US. The US get it right over in the US where YouTube's a lot bigger. Brands and commercial partnerships and things like that are a commonplace. Over here in the UK, it doesn't work like that. It's very different. So to be able to go to somebody, a promoter or an agent, and say, right, we want to do this podcast to 300 people at I don't know, some local hall or whatever, they look at us like you've got three heads. But we know there's appetite out there because we see the numbers of people that listen to the podcast on a weekly basis, that download it and watch it on YouTube. It's mental. The funniest thing is you get all these random sponsorship. I had somebody ask me about pickleball. They wanted us to do a pickleball ad on the podcast. I went, no thanks. It's true, but you get that sort of stuff, but you don't get like, you don't get those commercial opportunities aren't there yet. We're just very lucky that we obviously got Sketches to help out in terms of sponsoring the podcast, which, effectively covers the cost of, because this like being on this costs money, right? So this system costs money. Acast costs money. The other system, I can't remember what it's called, costs money. So you have licensing fees that you have to pay and all this sort of stuff. You have to pay this stuff out. So luckily for us, we've got Sketches who, basically pretty much cover that. Otherwise, I'd be forking out hundreds of pounds every month.
Yeah.
So that's where we're lucky in that respect. But yeah, it's I'd like to take it to the next level. I would.
That is my final sort of question to you. Right. Where is 40 Runs as a brand in all aspects? The running club, the Facebook group, the YouTube channel, the podcast. Where are we heading? What is in store? And where would you like to see it?
I think we've got amazing potential. I think it's. I think I'm going to quote Scarface. The world is your oyster, whatever it is. Is that what it was?
The world's your oyster. Yeah.
It's a bit like that. I think if the stuff comes off that I want to come off for this year, it could be mental. I think Toby keeps telling me to slow down. He said, you've always got next year because of the stuff I'm trying to get done. But I think it's to reach more places with our message of inclusivity and that everyday runner ethos of bringing runners together of all abilities and giving them a home and a place to find support, whether they want a club, whether they want to listen to a podcast or they want to watch a YouTube channel that's directed solely at them, or they want to turn up to a satellite club in Staffordshire because their club is not for them. And I'm not going to go into the reasons why. I think I've probably said too much as it is about certain things on here tonight. But it's finding a place for them. Finding a club or a community or whatever it is, or a YouTube channel or a podcast for them as a runner. That's, I think, what I want to do. Yeah, it'd be great to move it out. I see the numbers in the US, our numbers in terms of viewers and listeners on the podcast is going through the roof. So obviously that's a natural place for the running community. But there's other places in the world. But, I want to get out more in the UK. We're going to be very lucky. We've got a few opportunities to do that this year. Great North Run's going to be huge for us, I think, this year. We've got some other opportunities up there as well with the work we're doing with Start Fitness, so that's going to be cool. But yeah, it can go wherever we take it. But it's again, I go back to what I think I said at the start. It's not about me. It's about you guys who are part of this journey, who are part of the club, who are part of the community. Yourself, who I can't thank you enough. Sabrina, Alan, Toby, Simon. And all the the satellite leaders, the administrators on the Facebook group, the club committee, and and everybody who has something to do with 40 runs, who helps me, bring people together. I think it's all about all of us, really. This journey. It's not. I know you drives you nuts, but it's not about me. It is genuinely about you guys. You are 40 runs, and I stand at the top of it. Maybe if you want to look at it like that, because I was the one who started it. But basically, what I stand for is what you guys all stand for, and that is, we're everyday runners. We like to run around a bit. We like to do it for whatever reason that we've got, whether it's the same reason as me or whatever reason you're doing it. But ultimately, we like to have fun, and we like to, be a bit social, and we like to come together. I think that's basically it. And if that can expand, and that ethos can expand and take over the country, like we've basically done already, but if that can expand out and other people can get involved in it, then that's great. That's probably, the YouTube channel, whatever, subscribers, whatever, ain't bothered. Yeah, it'd be great. 100,000. Thanks very much. But really, how's that going to change my life? Other than the fact I'm going to get even more shoes. I mean, that's the only thing, or more pairs of headphones. I mean, really, that's really it, isn't it? You've got to remember the YouTube channel is a creative output for me as well. I like making certain videos, so there's that side of things as well. So yeah, I think that's probably about it, really.
Well, as you said, you're not everyone's cup of tea. Some people like you, some people love you, some people hate you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think I speak on behalf of a lot. I need to thank you for starting this community, starting this movement. I said there's been friendships, marriages coming up.
Marriages, yeah.
That ability, that ability to have a fellow runner at a start line, like you wanted at that very start in 2018, that's happening daily now. Happening in 2017, 18, it's happening now in 2023, where you turn up somewhere, see someone in a 40 run shirt, go over and have a chat, and it just makes life so much nicer than, as you said, being there on your own, that start line. And if that was at the start, if that was your goal, then do you know what? Hats off to you. Your goal's been achieved, and you deserve the credit for that, no matter what. So honestly, mate, it's been fascinating talking to you and going deep into you as a person as well. A lot of people see you as this cocky geezer full of confidence, and they make judgments to you. It is unfair. And we have to remember at times, so pointedly, seeing that Leeds Marathon with that Rob Burrows thing, the amount of humanity out there, and you can be nice to people, and it makes a difference. And that feeling inside is just something different. People need to realise that what a bad comment or something untoward on a group can do to someone else. I would just say to everyone who's listening to this, who has done it to you, and we're all guilty of doing it to some people sometimes, just refrain from it. It's just hurtful. You never know the ramifications of that. But anyway, mate, thanks again for your insight into yourself, and thanks for everyone to listening tonight. Remember, we are here every Friday at 7 o'clock UK time, and we will be here next Friday live with the awesome team that are around us. We also have a bite-sized episode that Chris was referring to. We didn't get to talk too much about that. But as Chris said, that's more tech-focused on a Monday night at 8 o'clock, I believe. Is that right?
Yep.
Move from 7 to 8. Well, Chris invites you to hang out with him and talk all things tech. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Keep listening, keep commenting, and obviously just keep being awesome. And we will catch up with you very soon.
Thanks a lot, big boy. Catch you later, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.